This episode is all about growing apples. There are over 7,000 different varieties of apples, but when you narrow it down, there are only about 100 varieties of apples available commercially. I'm growing 9 varieties in my small suburban garden, which means in my backyard, I'm growing close to 10% of the world's apple varieties. That's pretty scary, actually. I've always wanted an apple arch since I saw them in Kent, England in the 1990s. And then a bit later when I was growing the garden, I saw in a magazine or somewhere King Charles's Highgrove apple arch. And it solidified to me to grow an apple arch. An apple arch offers structure and beauty all year round. At this time of year, it's in fruit. And as the fruit ripens, you get lovely red colour throughout the arch and it's very dramatic. In spring, you get the flowers and they're incredibly ornamental and beautiful. And when all the leaves are off in winter, the bones of the tree and the structure also have a really attractive appeal. Apple arches are a very easy do-it-yourself project. Step 1, choose a site, maybe over a path or an entrance. Step 2, buy or make an arch structure. You can usually buy the metal arches from a nursery. The apple arch came with some deep prongs that were pushed into the ground to help anchor the arch. I put some rocks and some bricks on the base originally, but now the trees just hold it in place. Apple arches allow you to grow a lot of apples in a small space. This arch is supporting 3 varieties. The apple trees were purchased very young in 3 small pots, and you want them young because you want them to be supple and trellisable over the arch. Dig holes for your young apple trees. Dig the hole twice the size of the pot that you bought the tree in, and break up the bottom of the hole with a crowbar so that it's loose and allows the plant to get its roots down. Backfill with the soil that you've dug out of the hole and maybe mix it in with something nice, some compost. And then in the first year of the young apple's life, they probably do need a bit of watering, but after that, they're pretty low maintenance. Once you've planted the trees, it's then just a matter of trellising the young growth over the arch and pruning it to a desired shape. Mine is possum pruning on this side. I don't know about his job. I think he could do a better job, really. So I'll take you on a bit of a tour of the varieties. Grabbed a coffee for this tour. This is a morning tour. On the arch, there's Sundowner, Gala, and Orange Cox Pippin. So next on the tour is my Jonathan and Granny Smith double graft. It's at the back of the pool and is a trek through many things that needed to be cut down but have yet to be done. A double graft is another way that you can have a couple of different varieties off the one plant. On this side is a Jonathan apple and on this side a Granny Smith. The Granny Smith is a lovely tart cooking apple if you're after a crisp, less sweet apple. Another way to fit more fruit into a small garden is to grow fruit on a dwarf rootstock, and this Fuji apple is an example of that type of grafting. Okay, let's keep going. Crimson Crisp or Co-op 39, and it is just hammered with possum munching. It does produce the most beautiful sweet red apples. This is a Golden Delicious. At the moment it's not doing very well because it is overshadowed by a large nectarine tree, which is also somehow managing to grow the world's biggest pumpkin. I wonder if that's a safety issue. I mean, the whole thing's overgrown. We've had so much rain. The possum is also eating every last leaf. So I started reading David Goulson's The Garden Jungle, and I got interested in apple varieties rather than, before that I just was looking for nice red apples. Talking about varieties of apples and how there are so many more interesting flavours that you can find in apples that are not the average cultivar that we all seem to find in the shops. And so I went with a cider apple, which is called Magnus Summer Surprise. And it's not a very big apple. It grows to 2 to 3 metres. And the only spot I had left was near my letterbox, even though the postie said, "Why have you planted this here?" The apple has a bright pinky rose-coloured skin. And the flesh is pink It's a cider apple, so it'll probably be a bit tart. I think it'd be a nice tart apple to cook with, and I might try making cider. David Goulson has a great recipe that sounds very easy to make cider. So it's only 2 years old and I haven't had any fruit yet, nor flowers, so it does take a while for apple trees. But it'll make a nice shade tree here in the entrance of my house. My focus on pruning is to keep the side branches away from where the cars are coming in and out of the driveway, and also away from the postie. While Joyce and I are getting into this apple and cheese platter and a little bit of paint, I thought I'd talk about pruning, pest management and disease. I've talked a bit about pruning along the way. I tend to do most of the pruning in winter when the trees are dormant. It's a good time to do it in this region, and I just go for shape, try to keep things a bit short. I do a lot of pruning of other plants out of the apple tree, so that's probably the main thing I'm going to be doing shortly. I don't use any fungicides or pesticides on the plants. I've got too many insects and birds that I'm nurturing in this space. I rely on biological control. The chickens that not only fertilise the soil but also eat some of the pests, including the codling moth larvae. There is a microbat living in the garden under the umbrella, and also there's a family of willy wagtails. These creatures help control the proliferation of insects if they get out of balance. Going down to -7 in this region for a fair part of the winter vastly reduces the incident of fruit fly. In the end, I'm happy to live with the spots, cut off the bad bits and eat the rest. To make apple turnover. Preheat the oven to 200 degrees centigrade or 400 degrees Fahrenheit and line a tray with some brown paper or a baking sheet. Roll out the dough and then rest for an hour in the fridge, and then after that roll it out again and then cut into squares. Brush with a beaten egg and bake for about 35 minutes. Prick the triangles with a fork. Remove from the oven and leave to cool, and then garnish with some icing sugar if desired. This apple turnover is a Dutch recipe and a little bit of part of my heritage, and it does have that taste of Holland. I think my household has eaten these mostly on the way to work as a quick on-the-go snack. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I've inspired you to grow an apple arch or some apples in your garden. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the subscriptions and comments, and I'll see you in the next video.